Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Showtime TV. I'm your special host. Well, I'm your host, Omar Rashida. I'm here live this evening with some very special guests, all these famous celebrities that you see on their radio personalities, their TV personalities, their social media podcasts. I mean, I'm just honored to be here with Antoinette Blake, Maria Buchan, and Fred Fitzgerald. Good evening. How are you guys doing?
Good evening, Omar. Good evening,
Hello.
everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, and we've had some others join us as the show goes on. I want to ask all three of you. I want to start off with Antoinette. How did you get started with being in social media with your podcast? You're on it quite frequently. We see you on Facebook. Well, we saw all three of you guys on Facebook and YouTube and podcasts, and you've just been doing it. You're full of energy. What brought you to the social media podcast platform?
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that. And it's so ironic. There's one thing I love about Facebook. There's a lot of bad things I can say, but I love when they pop up those memories. And guess what? Today's memory 4 years ago was when I did my first podcast in 2016. Wow. So today is my anniversary of being a podcast host. Thank you guys so very much. But I have been, I actually started my social media career as a blogger in 2012. And I just found blogging as a way, you and I had this conversation before, it was a way to fill a void after the death of my grandmother. And I really love social media, but it was after MySpace, but before Black Planet, if you remember that. So I'm just giving you like, oh my gosh, she's been around for a minute.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I know. But social media, when used correctly, which is something that I also teach, can be a great way. It's like Maria and I were talking before Fred came on. It's like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in such a long time. The only way that we can connect is via social media. And I believe that was the concept, back in the day when Mark was sitting in his college dorm room. There was a way to connect with people who were like-minded. And then obviously once that horse left the gate, it opened it up to a whole new good, bad, and ugly way to connect with others. So I enjoy podcasting positively. I love blogging positively because, again, I get the chance to meet positive people such as yourself, Omar, Maria, and Fred. So I just love social media as a way to connect with like-minded people.
Okay, Maria?
Well, it's amazing because I really see myself as like a social media celebrity or a blogger or anything like that. But I do want to say, I think for me, the moment that was like, she has something important to say, it's around the 2016 elections when we started to do the Facebook Lives to interview candidates and sort of like really get the word out there and educate our city as to who were the people that wanted their vote and why it was that they wanted their vote. For me, it's always very important to be able to activate and advocate for the community and try to give the community as much information as I possibly can in things that matter to them, but are somewhat annoying. So I also use the platform of Delaware Fashion Week to sort of take all the social issues and things that most people like not really aware of and sort of like, here it is now. Like, you thought you were going to watch fashion, but let me tell you what's going on in Delaware and around the world that's very important. So I think it's something that it wasn't like I woke up and I say, today I'm going to be a blogger or be a social media presence. It's sort of like I felt there was a need for what I wanted to talk about specifically. And social media was there to give me the platform. I'm very happy to see that a lot of people are still using that today, especially for the state of Delaware, and that our current governor continues to use Facebook as a way to communicate to the people and do the town halls live. So that makes me also feel good to say, hey, we started something that has continued to happen, and I'm very happy for that.
All right, Fred.
Yeah, actually, Antoinette's gonna love this. Actually, I never wanted to actually get online and do Facebook when it first came out. I was actually a MySpace baby too. So I was on MySpace big time. And back then though, I had just started my company in 2006. And I started a company about, I was always in the, media and music production. And I started seeing a lot of videos. And I started saying, back then I said, man, it's everybody's starting to watch these videos. I need to start learning how to make videos because I think this is going to go somewhere. So I joined Facebook because somebody mentioned it to me. I didn't really want to be on it, but then a couple of years later, I started seeing it growing, and then I went to that thing with I kind of challenged a friend. How many friends can we get? We didn't know about the marketing. We just was trying to get how many friends we can get. We just got up to 5,000. Okay, we're done now. What? And then all of a sudden, I see it evolve, and I'm saying, okay, this is going to be the way to communicate because I'm the guy who was putting the flyers on cars, putting business cards in your door on church Sunday. I was that guy, and now I realize you can't do that anymore. That's illegal. But now the way to be to get out there is to have a presence on social media. And so I really got excited about it, and I started learning a little bit more. And then when the live functionality came out, it was like it was crazy because I was like, this is something that's going to be exposed. So I said, let me go ahead and just make sure I just keep showing up and trying to give content. I'm a positive person. I try to be a person that adds value. I try to be a person that encourages. So I said, let me just take what people usually say, well, Fred, when I get around you, I get some good energy. I said, let me see how to try to translate that energy online. And so that's why I love social media, because you can be able to do that. Like you said, it's like an ocean. There's sharks in the ocean. There's negativity in the ocean, but there's also nice waves and you can use, and they can bring you to shore. So I just try to be that person that kind of brings things to shore. So that way people, just kind of transmit good energy, positivity, and then also giving people opportunities to have a voice that were terrified of the camera. They don't want to get online. They're scared, but to be able to encourage them to say, listen, you can do it. And Facebook is the best way to do that.
Fred, before social media, you have a background as being a hip hop artist, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So back in the day, back in 1989, I was part of a project called Project X. A lot of people may know it. It was a great project, kind of the first colored album. When I say colored album, I don't mean black people colored. I'm talking about it was a first colored album because albums back there were black and white. So it was a great accomplishment back then in my younger years. It was, it spawned a lot of people that have done, successful careers going on, like allhiphop.com and people, just from the being part of that era. And that was great to be a part of that.
Right. Now, Antoinette, you recently have written a book on podcasts. So you want to share your story about why you decided to write that book? What's the book about? How can people get the book?
Thank you, Omar. You always know how to make me feel good. And Fred and Maria even knows I am an educator by trade. I received my BS degree from Delaware State College when it was still a college in 1983. So I have been teaching and educating my whole life. And so I actually started teaching others how to blog. So I have 2 books now. You know about the first one, the basic blogging tips for beginners, which I did on your show. And that book is a blueprint. But to answer the question about the podcasting, your purpose resource guide is something that I put together because you know what? I feel like all of us, we all have a voice, we all have a vision and a mission, and we can literally change someone's life with a podcast. And I'm going to go back to what Fred said. It was like, not everyone likes to be on camera. And that's amazing. I amaze myself because I started my YouTube channel in 2007. Wow. And if you go back and look, you will never see me on camera. I was always behind the scenes. I was doing a fashion and fun after 50. So I was literally showcasing food, fun, and fashion, but I was it was like I was showing the products and the services, and I was the voice behind the camera. Now Maria knows, Fred knows, and Omar, you definitely know. Put a camera in my face and I am there. But I love sharing my knowledge. So what I did was I took what I learned and I put it in this resource guide, which is available on Amazon.com. But it's a great blueprint because it starts from what is a podcast? Some people don't even know what a podcast is, and why, and the power of podcasting, how you can use it to promote your brand or your business. Again, like I said, we all have a voice, and podcasting is becoming such a powerful branding mechanism. Look at who's there. We've got baseball teams, basketball teams, we've got we've got the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. She just dropped her podcast, 3 weeks ago, and she's number 1. Yeah. And if you listen to her podcast, It's a simple conversation.
Right.
And, people that may be afraid to be in front of the camera, because they fear the camera. But if you ask someone to talk, I don't think many people have a fear of talking, especially about a topic. So this is available. The Podcasting Your Purpose resource guide is available on Amazon.com, or you can send me an email and you can leave that information later. But this is just to guide you from not only what is a podcast, but all the way up to monetizing. So a lot of people are like, how do I make money doing this? And Maria could probably tell you that as well.
Right.
Fred knows. He's knocking it out the park. But there are ways to monetize social media. So that's why I wrote the book. And so thank you for asking me about it.
Right. I want to ask all three of you, how do you go about developing topics that you want to discuss and inviting guests on your shows? And then also, who's your target population? I want to start off with Maria.
So I think for me, it's sort of easy. I think I always want to talk about topics that are very dear to me. Anthony just mentioned, like, a conversation flows very well, and I don't want it. It's hard to talk about things that either you don't know about or you're not interested in. So for me, it's always been activism work and what's going on. Lately, it's been a lot about Puerto Rico. So I'm concentrated in the projects and the political projects that we have going on there, and spending a lot of time developing content for the audience there. So picking the audience, it just has to do with the topic that I'm talking about and who does it affect the most and who do I want to have listen to me. And it could change. I tend to cover topics that are very broad. Sometimes I'm only talking to the youth. So I have to make sure that it is something that it's not boring, that is quick, straight to the point. Now, thanks to TikTok, 60 seconds now went to 15 seconds. Sort of like, now you only have 15 seconds to catch someone. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to lose the audience. Yeah. So you constantly have to like redevelop yourself and the strategies that you have to use. But especially when you're talking about politics or anything in the activism world, that tends to be just things that people don't want to talk about. It's boring and they're tired of it. And especially in 2020, we had enough, but we have to have very hard conversations. And sometimes it's just me. I just go live and just pour my heart out. Sort of like, here it is. It comes, it's just, I'm going to pour it out and it is what it is. And then other times it's really just identifying who are the people that my followers need to listen to. And key people that I want to get their attention and say, well, Maria just talked to someone that maybe I need to really have a listen to and know more about. So let me follow that person or let me look more information.
All right. Antoinette?
Oh, great question, Omar. My topics now, I've narrowed it. I've been, when I first started blogging, and like Maria says, you want to concentrate on your target market audience. For me, I kind of gear towards boomers and beyond when it comes to social media marketing, because like Fred says, they're used to putting flyers on cars and, putting bulletin board things. So they're kind of intimidated with social media. So on that end, that's my target market audience. But for my podcasting and my blogging, it's for anyone who wants to learn more about doing so. And that covers the gamut from, our kids. I actually did a boot camp last summer at Dell Tech for middle school students for blogging for a week. And those guys, they were amazing. They were like little sponges. And in that 1 week, they put together their own blog. So my, target market audience for blogging can be from the middle school, middle age and boomers and beyond. So the content is geared towards blogging and podcasting. But like Maria said, and I'm sure Fred is going to reiterate, you have to choose content that's based on your target market audience, because you cannot satisfy everyone. So if Maria is talking to the younger generation, her content has to be geared towards them and vice versa. So we have to evolve or we'll become extinct. So with blogging and podcasting, again, from middle school to the senior citizen centers, but I feel in my heart, and I'm pretty sure people can attest, that your coaching is individualized. It's personalized. I do not have a one size fits all launching, coaching, thing. It doesn't work that way, because way I work with Maria will be different than I work with Fred, which will be different than I work with Omar. So I do not say, here's the guidebook, this is how we're going to follow. It doesn't work that way, especially with social media, because it is so fluid.
All right, Fred.
Yeah, I agree definitely with Antoinette and Maria as far as it's very important that you be targeted. I learned the hard way. I'm kind of from the hard head school to hard knocks, right? Well, I actually the first time I wanted to do a podcast, I wanted to do it when they had an iPod out. I remember that. So I'm telling them. So that's when I first. So that sounded pretty cool to do, but it just looked like something I didn't want to get into. But then my wife Iona, she actually started her show first. It's called Success Stalkers, and she said, I helped her out getting that started because I'm the media guy. Like I can help out with the media side, but I didn't want to do it. But when I saw how successful she was, I said, well, let me go ahead and do it. I brought an idea of doing a TV show, Studio 22 Live TV was the name of my show. That's why it's TV. My wife's still saying, like, why you call it TV? I said, I'm just stuck with it. I'm hard-headed with it, right? But I moved that to the podcast format. When I first started, I just wanted to kind of interview people, because I've always had a thing like this. I'm not really getting into people who are super successful, wealthy people and all that kind of stuff. I always thought that everybody had a story. And my show was going to open up by being able to highlight people who typically you didn't get a chance, if you're not in a certain clique or you're not in a certain realm, to be able to share their story, because the value everybody's part of their story has value. So I would kind of interview people and different, no matter what they were doing. And I was very, very, very broad, because I was just basically, my format was, what my background was, I was going to have an opening, I was going to have a middle, I was going to do a joke. I was just trying to figure this thing out. And then, challenges, stories, success, how did you get over it? That's kind of how it started out. And, I started in 2014, not 16. So I've been doing it for 6 years. So even though it's popping right now, I've been doing it off and on, but I wasn't consistent. And so one of the things about podcasting I found out was, not only do you have to have a target market, but you have to continue to show up so people can trust that you're going to be there. And so I figured out I have to kind of bring down what I want to do as far as talk on the show. And I said, well, the only thing I can do is talk about what I know. I'm in music, I'm in media, and I'm in entertainment. And I figured that, I said, let me just stop there. I'm not going to bring the dentist on. I'm not going to bring other people because that doesn't resonate with me. So now I've narrowed down the show to be able to focus on that. And now it's easier to get my guests on, because I just ask people in realms, in spaces that I already are kind of familiar with. And I recognize I don't need 1,000 people, 1 million people to listen to the show. I just need to I need to find one person that's like me, that's listening to what and is interested in what I'm interested in, and they will be there. And if they don't know about the show, the other person will show up. They will recommend the show. So, and I got to be okay with that. And that's what I figured to do. So I figured out I got the target to the point where I launched a new show. And I got another podcast that deals with just something that I got into 3 years ago, personal growth and development, specifically for leadership. So it's called It's Time to Lead. So now I'm going to be targeted. I feel more comfortable. And that's kind of, I think, if I were giving any advice, find out what it is that you're good at and that you can talk to. And because you have an expertise, even you, and you don't have to compare yourself to anybody here, because everybody has their own fingerprints. So because everybody's unique, we want to hear your story too. So if you want to start a podcast, just be yourself and talk in conversation mode, not all technical and stuff. Just be you, how you be on the phone. That's what a podcast is. And it's the best marketing, because marketing is what? Doing what you say that you do. Podcast is a way for people to know, like, and trust you. And that's why it's so powerful.
I agree with all of you, because as you know, you guys, I start off on channel 28. And all four of you have been on my show. And I have two different formats: community issues, talk about issues that have a profound effect on our communities. And I also have artists. I'm a playwright and an actor, so I got to have performers on there. And so my target population is adults, children, teenagers. I mean, so like you said, you got to be diverse in this thing, because whatever your topic is, that's your target population. And I see that we have another guest here. She's a famous radio. She's a radio personality.
She looked like a real press. She like.
I know she
Yeah,
just chilling.
she's chilling. Okay. We have
Yo,
we'd like to
back.
welcome.
I'm
I'd like to
here.
welcome-
Yeah.
I'd
No.
like to welcome Rochelle Wilson. Hey,
Hey,
Rochelle, how you
Rochelle.
doing?
How you doing?
Hey everybody, Omar, I apologize for being late. I am not good at this Zoom stuff.
Well, you're on here now. You on
Yeah,
here.
you're here
Good.
now.
Okay. So Rochelle, I want to ask you the question that I asked all the other guests when they first came. How did you get started in terms of being a radio personality, a journalist, and all that other good stuff?
I started my journalism career at age 17, and there's a person sorry for my dog is barking. A man by the name of Benjamin Twinby Brown actually is who got me started at age 17. And I just kind of moved it from there. But it was when I started my movement for criminal justice and prison reform, that is when I really kind of came back into journalism from being a high school teacher.
Okay. Now, what about radio? You started off
Radio,
WILM, right?
Radio, journalism, broadcasting, 37 years. I've been doing it for 37 years.
Wow.
I stepped away so that I could be a high school teacher because that was really important to me. How can I give back to the students? How can I teach the young people how to be better than maybe my generation? And so I stepped away from journalism and went right into being a teacher. I loved it. I did it for 12 years. Okay. Then the United States government made a mistake and they arrested my son and locked him up and incarcerated him for 25 years for liquor store robbery. And as a mom, that doesn't play for me.
Right. Okay, now I'm just going to throw this question in the air for anyone that it pertains to. Is there a particular topic that you refuse to discuss? Who wants to go first? Who wants to go? Everybody laughing.
I will not touch. Yeah, and let me tell you something. And everyone is going to agree. We're all a brand. Okay, right? We are all a brand. And even though we have our own niche and our own topics, we have to stay true to ourselves. We can only stay true to ourselves. Now, it's not like I'm not ever going to talk about politics. I'm never going to talk about religion. I'm never going to talk about, criminal justice, but that's not my target market audience. Now, because there are, and just like Maria was saying, there are so many different types. And Fred, I think you said there's so many different types of platforms where different audiences are hanging out. You can kind of pivot, but what I need for people to understand, especially for those business owners who this is their bread and butter, that they need to be very careful about what they're promoting on their social media platforms, because there's no longer a personal page and a professional page. It's all one. And if you cross the line, that's half of the country, half of the United States right now. If you cross the line, there can be negative repercussions. Now, I'm fortunate that my podcasting, my blogging, and my social media is about social media. It's blogging and it's podcasting. So I'm going to stay away from politics and religion and race and creed and all of that. So that's kind of where I draw the line. And the great thing about having a smartphone is you can swipe past. So when those people are driving you crazy, just swipe and, under your breath, just swipe and go on. So I stay away from politics and religion because, again, I may have a client that is of a different, political persuasion than me, but that doesn't mean I can't represent her. That's like a grocery store only selling one brand of bread. You got to be able to diversify. So, but I kind of keep my personal feelings in check when it comes to social media.
Yeah, I know. For myself, Mary, where you gonna go, Mary?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so for myself, I kind of stay away from politics as well. I stay away from anything that has a negative connotation, and it's interesting. The world's negative, so it don't need no help from me being negative. You got CNN, constant negative news. It's always there. And my wife used to go on me like, well, you're not being attached to reality. Or just something. I had a friend of mine that says, well, you're not being, taking reality, kind of being, kind of face up to reality. I do face up to reality. The thing is, I have a certain voice. I have a certain brand that I have, and I also have a certain way of thinking. And the people, my target audience or my avatars, what they call it, that person thinks just like me, right? And if somebody else thinks that like different from me, that's great. I always have an ear to listen to them. I'll give my kind of my 2 cents, but I'll do it in a way where I still let them know where I stand and where I stand firm with. But I don't like being able to pull in the kind of negativity that if it bothers because I'm a spiritual man, if it bothers my spirit, I'm not talking about it. Because things that bother my spirit, I usually take to God and him and I work that out. But if it's something that's dealing with my children, I'm gonna deal with that too, of course. But at the same time, I kind of try to stay away from things that kind of brings my spirit down. Because I'm not in it just to get likes and shares of that nature. It could be one person listening. It could be one person. Yesterday, I had somebody in Belgium that told me I like your show. I'm just like, man, where did you come from? I'm like, what? But it just goes to show me. But I totally agree with Antoinette. You gotta be very, very careful what you do when you're going online, because once you go online, now you're public. You are tagged, you are stalked, you are monitored by Facebook. I'm about to take this Facebook ad course in the next 6 weeks and learn all this stuff so I can help my people as well and understand the psychology, what's going on. Why am I getting all these? When I mention Antoinette Blake, why is her post showing up in front of me? Those things of that nature. But I kind of that's what I try to stay away from.
There's something that Fred said earlier about everyone's footprint. So I'm a strong believer that everyone lives everlasting footprints. I use that word a lot. I also do believe that every single human has something very interesting to teach others. I always encourage people to you could look into others for motivation and inspiration, but you don't actually need to do what they're doing or copy them in order for you to be successful and bring out what you want to do. But I do don't mind the hot topics. I don't mind to touch people's buttons. I don't mind at all to sort of make them think outside the box. And I have those very hard conversations that people don't like to have. But when it comes to that negativity and our spirits being robbed from all the rest, I do take that into consideration. So there's a saying I use a lot. It's called "Dare to Love." And what I mean by that is that we have to really be daring to love when it's hard to love. It's hard to love people that don't think like us, that don't look like us, that don't speak our language. But when we are daring enough to have those conversations, even the political ones, we're able to somewhat start to learn from all of sides what it is that it's really messed up, and then how we could work towards it. And as far as me not being afraid of pushing the buttons, that's why people will go to Delaware Fashion Week thinking that they're going to have a full week of fashion, and then they're going to get hit with the reality that in Delaware we have a lot of children that are part of the foster care program, and they have trash bags where they carry their clothes. They don't have an actual bag, and that makes them feel less valuable. That makes them feel less loved. So then we need to know that that's a problem. Then how are we going to be able to help them as a society? And then how are we going to be able to teach our kids that do have things to appreciate the things that they do have? Yeah. So parents that do come that political ideologies are completely different from mine can actually still be in that room and listen to what it is that I have to say, because it is how you approach it, to be able to actually get people to listen to you and then be able to say, you know what? I never thought about it that way. I never saw it like that. And she does have a point. So let's look into that. And not just about politics, chronic conditions like, Omar, you know that I was very, very sick and I was bedridden for many years, and I still battle with my medical conditions, but it was so rare that I needed to then use my platform and say, well, now you thought you were coming to another week of fashion, but we're going to learn about dystonia and lupus. Mm-hmm. And again, in a way where people were not going to be turned off, but actually be, I could feel this. The same with criminal justice reform, defunding the police, like just for a second, when we think about defunding the police, what does that mean for everyday people? And in order for us to be able to grab their attention and actually listen, we can't just say that. We have to speak a language that people are able to understand. So I definitely don't mind pushing those buttons and touching those hot topics.
Yeah. Anything for you, Rochelle, or are you good?
I want to kind of answer Antoinette as she was talking about staying away from certain topics. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm a fire sign. I jump right in head first, politics all the way in. You know, I will battle. I mean, I do a show every Wednesday night with politicians, you know, interviewing politicians. And then Sundays, I do the criminal justice thing, which really kind of ties in to one another. There's no way you can talk about criminal justice and prison reform without having relationships with politicians, because how are you going to get anything accomplished if you don't? The only thing for me is, much like the brother, I have a very spiritual place inside of me, and my heart is very sensitive. So I try to stay away from topics that have anything to do with sex, particularly men that have surgical operations to become women. So I stay away from those things because I can get a little fired up about them. But for me, everything else is on the table. It's open, and I will go toe to toe with you. Let's go.
Nice. Very nice.
You know, I can't stay away from politics because every election year, politicians want me to interview them. So I have to do it. I'm currently doing.
They be calling you, right?
Yeah, I'm doing serious now. Like,
see, Omar, there's a price to pay for those interviews. You want to come on my show and you want to interview, you want to have an interview with Rochelle Wilson, right. That's fine. But there's a price to pay because now you have to build a relationship with me.
That's important.
And see, once you start building a relationship with me, now I'm going to put all the cards on the table. Right. So you're not just going to get a free interview and get to walk away. You must build a relationship with me. And it's like the spider's web. I got you.
I like that. And that's accountability, Rochelle. So I appreciate that.
Accountability, like Fred is saying, I think when it comes to politics, one of the things that I know for the 2016, it was really rough. We had a lot of candidates running to be the mayor. And for me personally, how it happened, it was sort of like, hey, can we get an endorsement? Or, you know, can you help us with the Hispanic community? And it was like being pulled everywhere. And I was like, you know what? You want to win my people, talk to my people and let me study you. And after spending that time of interviews and studying them, then I was able to make my own personal opinion who it was that I was going to back up and continue to work with, while still giving everyone else a space to talk and a platform to be able to just get their message across. I just feel like it's just my duty to be able to educate everyone, and then also give my 2 cents. But to this day, I will hold you accountable. And if you messed it up, you messed it up. And I am going to put a tweet about it. And then the Delaware Line will ask for a comment, or they're going to like find out like what's going on, like why you wanted to say that, like what's happening. Well, yeah, because you use my platform in order to be able to reach an audience that you promise a lot of things to. And so I am also responsible when you are messing up to let everyone else know that you're messing up. So I agree with Rochelle and Fred. You know, accountability is also very important, especially when you're doing politics.
Right. I've made some great friends and some great relationships and people that I hang out and I break bread with. And then there are other people who are elected officials and they love to hate me because I don't care. I will tell the truth. I'm the biggest snitch in radio journalism that exists in Wilmington, Delaware. I will tell. You understand me? I'm snitching. But I always give you a chance first. And one more thing for you, for Antoinette. I can honestly say that when I first started, it was only social media, Facebook, because I didn't really know how else to get started. I had men that were extremely inappropriate sending me messages that I wouldn't show to my dog, much less should I be looking at. So been there, done that, baby girl.
Yeah, it's so, I agree with all of you. I mean, when my first blogging career and podcasting career, I would interview others, politicians, as well as, people out and about. And it's true, social media can be a very deep, dark hole. You've got people that are hiding behind a laptop, and it's no longer the kid in the basement. It's your politicians, it's your teachers, it's, your preachers. So social media, again, that is one thing that I try to emphasize to our younger generation, that they need to be aware of what they share online, because this is something that's going to be part of their blueprint forever. I mean, all of us here grew up in an era where we just had to threaten a little brother or a little sister or niece and nephew not to tell, an adult what we did. But now everything is online, it's videotaped and it's recorded. And if you think that posting something that's going to be deleted has not been captured in the cloud, trust and believe. So like Fred said, in my spirit, all of us here are leaving a legacy. Right. We are leaving a legacy for generations that come way after. Once we pass through the clouds, they'll still be able to pull that stuff from the clouds. And I want my grandkids, my great, I don't even know how many generations beyond to say, wow, Nana, mom, auntie, whatever the case may be, she was pretty cool. I like what she said. I like her, what she did. So again, we all have to, we're all our own brand, but we do have to remember that what's out there is out there forever.
Absolutely. And think before you post.
Yes.
Pause
before you post.
That's it.
Think before you tweet, and stop before you snap.
That's it. I've been in IT for 30 years.
Yes.
I'm the
Fred knows.
guy that you call when your computer races out the window. So I've gone from every single aspect of media, and as far as IT, and Antoinette's right. It never goes away. They will bring it up in court again. So if you are going to post something, if you can just understand and kind of be aware of when you are at an emotional state, especially young people. Mm-hmm. Young people, I'm telling you, you want to make sure that you do not post something. And I used to say what your grandma want to see. That don't apply anymore. It's like if you're going to post something to try to hurt somebody, don't do it, because you might be 16 years old, 15 years old, 13 years old, posting things. It will prevent you from getting a job later on.
It's going to hurt the person. It's going
to hurt everybody. And the thing is, it doesn't make you look any bigger, badder, or smarter. It makes you look worse, and it will come back on you in a way that's going to affect you later on in life. And it may not sound like a lot right now, but it is the truth, and it is very serious. You will be denied. The people who are hiring you in HR are using Facebook to determine your character. They're using to determine if they're going to give you a scholarship. So you may think you're going to get a scholarship, but if they find one thing on Facebook that's questionable, you will not get that. You will not get those opportunities. So please be careful when you post online. It never goes away. It doesn't get deleted. It is there. When she says in the cloud, you guys know what USBs are? The USB drives you plug in. Imagine a really, really big one that holds your whole life. That's what the cloud is. So the information is there. So don't do it. Be safe when you post online. And when you're presenting online, present yourself in a way that you will want to be presented.
Yes.
Something that you want to give for yourself and your families.
Can I respond to that? Permission to respond to that?
Absolutely, Rochelle.
Yes, it is important that we be mindful of who's out there watching. I have young teenagers that watch Mama Rochelle because they were former students and they want to keep up with me. I have clergy from IMAC that watches me and pays attention to me. But ultimately, at the end of the day, in order for me to move my movement forward, I got to be authentic. I have to be who I am. Yes, I have been on Facebook, really highly emotional over some things. And I kept it real. And, I think for me, people have been more drawn to my authenticity
Yeah, makes
of
sense.
who I am. Even though it's fire, they're more drawn to me keeping it real than they are for me pretending like I'm always a goody two shoes. No, I do bad things. I make mistakes. I say curse words. I have opinions, but people rather deal with me authentically than to not know who I am. I'm the same person on Facebook that I am on the radio, that I am at the corner store if you meet me at the corner store. And
Yeah,
that's,
I
I think
respect
that's
that.
important.
That's very important. That's true.
You know,
Thank you.
when I'm on Facebook and I see you guys do your shows, Rochelle, when you come on, I'm there. I'm gonna watch you. Fred, when you come on, I'm there. Watch you. Internet, Maria, I'm watching you. And then you go on YouTube. You got the Roland Morton show. He used to be on TV1, and now he has
Oh
a
yeah.
digital program. And he's
Mhm.
got the Grapevine on YouTube. I mean, these people got like thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers. So then I started thinking, man, is social media the new thing now? Is it taking over TV shows? Because I find myself more interested in watching Rochelle, Fred, Antoinette, the Roland Martin show, the Grapevine on YouTube than I am on a lot of these shows on TV. So Fred, Antoinette, what do you guys say?
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Antoinette.
Fred.
Thank you. There's always going to be an audience for every type of media. Some people prefer to binge watch television shows, whether it's Netflix or, AP and whatever, I'm a Me TV person. I love
Big time.
old school Perry Mason every night before I go to bed. That's just me. But regular TV, I don't watch. Some people prefer to pop those earbuds into their ears or put those headphones on their head and listen to audio while they're working out, while they're driving, while they're doing dishes, while they're, walking the dog, whatever the case may be. And then there's others that prefer a book. They want to feel this paper. Rochelle knows as a teacher, sometimes reading those words, are better ingrained in your mind as opposed to reading it on a smartphone or a Kindle. So it's a personal preference. Television, radio, and if you notice, they are evolving as well. Television shows are creating podcast divisions. Newspapers and magazines are creating podcast divisions. So they know that they may have a target market audience, but there's going to be someone out there that prefers, like my husband's aunt. She's 85. She can watch TV all day long, but she's also on her smartwatch. She's looking, she's scrolling, she's on Facebook, she's multitasking like that. Other people would prefer to read. I love reading. I have killed so many trees because everything I pull up online, I got to print it out. It's something about, I got to feel it, I got to touch it, then I throw it away. I'm like killing trees every day. But again, the medium, it's for all people. We grew up listening to the radio. We grew up going to drive-in movies. Look, drive-in movies are making a comeback. Who would have thought? Maybe the drive-ins won't be the same way that when we went to the drive-in.
Right.
That's another story for another day. Right now, it's a family thing. But yeah, you're so right, Omar. And I have to agree with Rochelle. So when people are looking at you, you have to be your authentic self. Yeah. I love her personality. I love Maria's personality. I love Fred's personality. I love Omar's personality. And wherever I'm seeing you, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, podcasting, on the street, you're the same. This is the same. You're not trying to be fake and phony because you'll be caught. People know. People know.
And let me tell you, young people will call you out.
You better say it, Rochelle.
Whoever, you don't act like that. You can't fake it to the young people.
That's true. They'll call you out in a minute. And
okay, Fred.
Right. I see it with my grandkids. They said, Papa, you say you nice online, but I got in trouble. Yeah, you got in trouble because Pop is Papa. Don't get it twisted, But I can appreciate what you said, Rochelle, about being authentic. I think the biggest thing is like long as it's kind of like I feel like I'm in Motown right now because I got the Antoinette show, I got the Rochelle. You got different. That kind of diversity people love. That's why people are so attached right now. You know, not a lot of people are doing a lot of TV programs. It's really, really good because of the fact that we're getting online and we're being authentic and we are different. We're actually sharing ourselves. And I think that's going to be, it's going to actually be a lot more popular because people are going to start realizing that if I can just go on a skate or I can go on a walk or I'm on a plane, I can listen to something in my ear because I ingest podcasts. I do a lot of reading as well. But now it's almost like everything is on demand. If you feel like having a coffee and a book, you do that. If you feel like printing something out, you do that. If you don't feel like looking at anything or being on camera, you turn your camera on. You can still talk to people. Like things are changing and things are evolving. I had a friend of mine who wanted to start a TV broadcast kind of his own network, and he was asking me about it. I said, man, don't even do it right now because everything is online. You ain't getting no satellites. No. You better get online, get yourself a Facebook group and be able to have your own thing. And that's what's important because this is where it's going and everybody is on this thing right here. And nobody's using this anymore. No, this is a tape deck.
That's a cassette player. I got one of those in my bedroom on my side.
Yeah,
my clock radio has a cassette player.
Yeah. Nobody. And this one actually here, actually, I could say this. Oh, I can't do it. Actually, I have a tape in it, but nobody's using it anymore.
Fred, don't even start. I got 45s, 33s, and giant 45s.
But those millennials don't know about this. But y'all know about this, right?
I also, Omar, I do see that a lot of people moving to consuming social media and YouTube more often. I was recently talking to someone that I admire very much, and they're a Puerto Rican director, and we were talking about doing some content for the work that we're doing in Puerto Rico. And he was just telling me how they're working on a new project, and what they thought was going to sort of be a project for Netflix end up being a project that is going to have to go to YouTube and just completely shorter because of what I was saying earlier, attention span, and how things like TikTok or Instagram, sometimes we don't think about how they influence us, but they really do. And a lot of people are consuming through those apps. So it does change how not just programs like TV shows are being made, but also like movies and like series and all this other stuff. So like when it comes to the entertainment world as a whole, we're definitely changing. Then the pandemic just added some more like salt to this change that we have. So it just reinforced the use of Zoom, Facebook, Instagram, and all these other platforms for people to be able to talk. And productions, like Fred was saying, like big productions had to like reduce themselves and start doing things from home. And it's sort of like, so it's a completely new era, and I'm excited to see where it's gonna go. And I'm very excited to know that we are all very comfortable with what we're using right now, and that a lot of people will watch us through Facebook or YouTube.
And to stay with you, Maria, you know, okay, and then to stay with Maria.
Omar, tell him I can barely figure out how to do Zoom. Like I hate
you have to know this.
That's all right,
You're doing a great job.
Doing a great job.
See, what time I came in, I was late because I'm trying to figure out which button to push to get the, oh my God, I hate it. But yes, it's probably going to be the new normal, as they call it, which I really hate that phrase, the new normal. I don't think there's anything normal about a COVID-19 pandemic. And I have to call it pandemic because it started in 2016, but that's another conversation. But yeah, this is the way that everything is going. We've got the 5G towers up. So now we can do all of this. But I really think something is missing. I mean, even though we're having a great time here, imagine if all of us were together in a room and like having this conversation with, you know, cake and cookies,
wine or beer.
Right? Wouldn't that be great?
Like
the energy is different. The vibrational frequency changes doing it this way instead of us sitting right next to each other, you know?
But you know, Maria, you know, like I said, being on Talent 28, I had all of you. We were right here, face to face. We were in the green room. We were in the studio. We was having fun. We was talking. We was educating, informing one another. But what I really love about Zoom and YouTube and Facebook is that you can connect with people all over the world. I just love it.
I love.
And Michelle, don't worry. I remember when Omar first started Zooming.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
needed a lot of help.
But he got it though. He got us
But now
here.
look at him. Not even a month later, he has
And
got
and,
on.
and Rochelle, we can hear you and see you. So you
Uh-huh.
all right. You are
And you
good.
know what? I have no idea which button I pushed to get here, but I'm glad I'm here.
That's great.
Well, you know,
I want to come on your show
I
too,
believe,
by the way.
Okay, no
right.
problem.
I believe all of you, or at least most of you, are either public speakers or done some public speaking. And if so, how did that contribute you as in terms of being a successful podcast, radio personality, social media personality? Let's start off with, who should I start off with? Let me see,
Maria.
Rochelle. Maria, Rochelle who wants to go. Ladies first, ladies first.
So, public speaking for me, I think I started to pay attention as soon as I moved from Puerto Rico to Delaware. When I moved to Delaware for the first time, I was definitely that odd child where you come from, and my accent was very thick. So it was very hard to be able to communicate with people. And that made me self-conscious. Like I'm trying to say something and no one is listening to me, or they're not taking me serious because my accent is so thick that they're concentrating on the accent and not what it is that I have to say. And my history teacher back at AI Middle thought, hey, you know what? He met with me and he thought that I was the right student to run for student council and sort of like make history for the first time in school.
Mhm.
So he was like, why don't you run for student council? And I was like, okay, let's do this. Maybe you should run for like treasurer or secretary, to make sure that we get a win in there. And I was like, if I'm running for president. So I'm not,
Right.
I'm going all the way. So
There you go.
my job was to practice speaking. Like he was like, well, if you want to be the first Hispanic student to be student council president, then we need to make sure that you are able to communicate with people and that they can understand what it is that you're trying to say. So I worked very hard the entire time, but I never forgot my Spanish and where I come from. So when I delivered my very first public speech, it was that. It was at AI Middle in front of the entire school. And even though my English was still broken, I was able to put out a message that was powerful enough to sort of like get the people that were first laughing and thought it was really funny to be quiet and then completely listen to a Spanish version of the very same speech that I gave. And just then the whole entire school like just blew up. I'll never forget that in my life. And I think that was the moment where I was like, yes, words are powerful and I have something to say that people need to listen to. And I'm not going to worry so much about my accent anymore, but how I'm going to deliver my message.
Right.
And how do I want people to feel when they listen to me? So I do still practice that. And I think that people that want to talk in public should always practice, even if you're being yourself, and that's completely okay. I don't lose being myself, but I do practice often how it is that I want to deliver certain things. And also I had to like calm down from Puerto Rico. So like, we're always like this. So like down my arms a little more, my tone sometimes, hey, you sound like you're angry. I'm not angry. So it's sort of like being able to control some of the things just so people can get the message. It doesn't really like tune you out of who you are, but it helps you. And also I took it up in college and I took debate class too, because I love to debate. So, and all of those things do help you to learn how to speak in public, and I do like it.
Right. Fred?
Well, for myself, I actually got into public speaking years ago. I was part of a network marketing company. I've been part of a network marketing company called Legal Shield for 20 years now. And I first started terrified in front of trying to sell a product in front of people, but I found out I was so focused on the money, I didn't care about, I was focused on getting that money. So, but I did realize that it's a skill that you have to develop, and you really got to put 10,000 hours in order to really, really respect this craft, because public speaking is not easy, but everybody can do it. And it's it is absolutely the number one skill that you can develop, because everybody, if you notice, it can be, I was watching the Martin Luther King celebration day. It's like all these people, one person talking, TD Jakes, all these people, one person's part. It's amazing how many people will get behind someone that they know, like, and trust, and they'll listen to the words. But the thing is, you have to put your time in, get in front of the mirror. You got these recorders, you can record yourself. And sometimes, matter of fact, the biggest thing is record yourself and then put it in your ears and go to sleep, because it gets into your subconscious. These are little tips that you can use, because most people are terrified to get in front of the room. You start sweating, you start getting, but right now with this COVID-19, everybody being home, what a great time to practice being in front of the computer and being able to talk to the green light, because yes, it's a green light in front of me. I might not see you guys, and I agree with Rochelle. It would be nice to be in a room, because you're never going to replace high touch. There's high tech. This is high tech right now, but the difference is you're never going to replace the high touch. So this is a temporarily not new normal, because we're moving into something new. But as far as public speaking is concerned, it's very, very important. And if you're ever interested in being able to do it, then just know that you got to just start. You don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great. So I would do want to share that with you guys. Public
Yes,
speaking is great.
I like.
And do it afraid and do it scared, because you're going to be terrified. But guess what? The next day will be better, and the next day will be better, and the next day will be there. And like Rochelle said, be yourself and speak from the heart, and you'll be fine.
Pretty much.
One of the things.
For me, my first encounter with public speaking was obviously in a high school in front of a classroom full of teenage children. Okay, and they're running around and on the phone, and they're doing all the things that teenagers do. And I'm trying to teach them, how do you get the attention of a 15-year-old child? When I figured that part out, public speaking, I was no longer nervous. I'm not afraid. I'm a ham. Give me a microphone and an audience, and I will drop the mic on them. I love it when I leave my audiences in total silence. They don't know if they are supposed to applaud or sit there and think about what I just said for like 20 minutes. But I love it. And unfortunately, because of the COVID-19, all of my speaking engagements were canceled. It is in public, public contact. So all of those were canceled. And honestly, that was my only source of financial income. So I really would like to get back to that public speaking, because I get paid to do that.
And Omar, what I want to just drop to let everybody know that's listening, not only here, but later, podcasting is a perfect medium to use to begin practicing public speaking. Yes. You're creating mini podcasts, 5, 10, 15 minutes at a clip. You don't have to do an hour. You're just doing 15-minute speaking from the heart. And the more you practice, progress, you'll get better. So take this time now to do a podcast, create a podcast. And like Fred said, listen to yourself and do you, boo-boo, because you can't do anyone else. So practice, progress. And if you start with the podcast, like Rochelle says, once we get out of this, because I lost many speaking engagements myself because of COVID, and that money was like, whoa, you just watch it fly away. But if you start a podcast, you can build up your listenership so that when it's time for you to get back out there and say, yes, I'm the person that needs to speak about ABC, and they'll say, why? Point them to your podcast, because this is me in real life. They can hear your personality. They know how you can connect with the audience because they can feel you. And I think that's the biggest thing that helps with your booking. They want to know how you sound. You can put together the best proposal, but if you can't get up there and talk to 100,000 million people, then you're not worth it. So starting that podcast so that you can point those people that want to pay you to speak, saying, hey, and you know what? You might even command a little bit more money because you got that experience behind you as a podcast host.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
And I
Sounds
and I
good.
do want to mention one more thing, that when you start elevating through the different levels after you do the podcast, then you want to, there's an organization called Toastmasters out there that you can get involved with, and you can be able to learn how to be able to speak. And it's a very safe, non-judgmental environment to be able to learn. And that's why I was a part of that as well as a president of Toastmasters. And then when you go to a whole nother level where you want to speak in front of stages, you always continue to progress and get better and better and better. So there's levels to it, but I think the best way, like Antoinette said, starting off in the mirror and then starting your podcast and just knowing, just go ahead and do something. Don't talk about it, just do it, because
Yeah.
you can talk about it all day. And now is the time to be able to practice when nobody's looking, because this is the time, because you don't want to, an opportunity is going to show up, but you want to be ready for the opportunity. If you try to get ready, by the time opportunity shows up, it's already too late. So this is the time to be able to do it.
You know, one of the things that I also love about our platforms is that we're not micromanaged. We get to tell our story, because in the mainstream media, you don't really hear too many
Yeah.
stories about people of color. You're talking about the Hispanic population, talking about the African American population. Rochelle, you're on the only African American radio show in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. Maria, you always touch on the Hispanic issues. So for you too, just talk about the joy and glory that you have, where you can share our stories, our history, our culture, and not be micromanaged and not be controlled by someone else. Let's go with Maria, then Rochelle.
No, go Maria first, because it looked like Rochelle pulled her arrow back.
I know, right?
So she's ready. Okay.
I can't wait.
Okay.
Well, so one of the things that I always say is that we need to be represented in all parts of life, not just in politics, right? I don't need people to represent me just there. I need to see people that look like me on TV. I need to listen to them on the radio. I need to see them on the billboards. We do need to occupy more of that space. And I think the fact that we don't get that opportunity, it does contribute to the racism and the hate and the misinformation that we have today. Because people in the mainstream, what the mainstream media is showing, what people are consuming, they feel it to be true. So if the movie's always showing the same couples falling in love, the same couples successful, like, the same stories, the same looking people. So only they could fall in love, only they could have a job, So I do love the fact that I can control my narrative, and I could actually say how I want to say it and speak the truth, like Rochelle was saying. And when I wanted to talk about Hurricane Maria, I was able to talk about that from my feeling as someone that loves Puerto Rico so much that it hurt the way that we were being treated, what was happening. And everyone that spoke about it from the truth was able to deliver that way better than any news media could have ever done so. So for me, it's like, okay, I could tell my story because no one else is really trying to tell my story.
Right.
We see a little bit of change on Main Street media, right? Where people are trying to now give us some space.
Right.
But I'm like, no, we need to demand more and we have more space for that. And I know, Omar, when we met before and I was in your studio, I was with a lot of young people that either they dance or they out, or they were actresses or actors. And it was part of, my mentorship program and helping them sort of embrace who they want to be and know that they could do it. Because in our culture, like, what do you mean you want to be a dancer? You're not going to make money doing that. Like, no, you can't do that. Wait, you want to act? You're not, no, that's not going to happen. Like that, no, you need a real job. But that is a real job. But because we're not portrayed that we can we can't make a career out of it. And our parents, it's hard for our parents to support something that they can't see it happen. So being able to find people to support you to make your dreams and then be an actress, be what you want to be, is very important. So I do appreciate that I get to control that and help others do so.
All right, go ahead, Rochelle. I know you're ready.
I'm gonna grab my charger.
So that was my phone or her phone. She was breaking up a little bit there. But I think that, how can I say, I was fortunate that the owner of the Black-owned radio station reached out to me through another mutual friend. And in our conversation, you see, older people can be a little cantankerous sometimes. because he saw because he saw the passion in my heart and my soul to do what I want to do and what I'm fighting to do, you know, make some intelligent noise. I'm not just making any noise, I'm making intelligent noise. So let me go, take the reins off and let me go. And so I'd have to say about 87%, I have free reign. It's black radio. It's black radio. Now, even though I have the free reign to say what I want to say, I'm still mindful that I have clergy, I have young students, and I have white people. I definitely have white people, friends who listen in. I don't want to be insulting to people. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but I'm going to show Black love. And so, you know, I've had private conversations with my white friends on the telephone saying, hey, tonight's report is going to be kind of fiery, and I just want you to know that I love you. And they have responded, we know you, we know that you love us. We understand where you are, you know, do your thing. And so I thank God that I'm able really to do my thing and really just go all the way out and say the truth the way I understand it.
And you know, being a journalist is not always, you're not always safe. Let me give you an example. Several months ago, you know, when George Floyd got murdered in downtown the city of Wilmington, Delaware, there was some rioting, and Rochelle, you was right there in the middle of it. Antoinette, I saw you. I believe you were in Smyrna. You were protesting. So what is it like? What was it like for you, Rochelle, to in the midst of all that chaos?
Okay, so first again, let me remind you, I'm probably the oldest person in this particular Zoom meeting. So coming up in a time where Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, Winnie Mandela, these are the people that I grew up idolizing as, you know, true marchers and protesters and people who got things done. So to be in the middle of downtown Wilmington, and I've got young people running all around me doing things that are not what I'm used to doing, I forgot about being a journalist. I was just flabbergasted. I was floored at what I was seeing. But the day after I, you know, went back, because I went Facebook Live, but the day after I went back and I looked at it and I noticed some things. And one of the things that I noticed is that when the young people started doing what they were doing, there were no grown-ups. We left them. We left them out there to do whatever it is that they were doing. There were no grown-ups around with any guidance or wisdom or suggestions or redirection or anything. Those young people were doing what they felt they wanted to do. And awesome, I mean, ultimately, I think it was years of pent-up anger, frustration, and just sick and tired of being sick and tired. So that's kind of the feeling that I got from it. But I was definitely flabbergasted. It was nothing I'd ever seen in my whole life before.
Mm-hmm. And after that, you also did a Facebook Live when you were part of the demonstration.
Yeah, I actually, Omar, I actually went to Middletown. That's where we moved Middletown to Smyrna. But gotcha. You know what? This evening, before we got on, I was watching the march, the March to Washington, and I listened and I watched. I'm a boomer. I was born in '61. I'll be 59 next month, and I was not involved. I was part of it, but I was not totally involved. What I saw on the television today, talking about television, filled my heart. Because these young people know they have picked up the mantle and they are moving forward. Unfortunately, here we are 65 years later, still talking about the same thing. Today is the anniversary of the death of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old young man who was falsely accused of doing something. But more so than that, his uncle was threatened not to say anything or do anything, or he would have been killed. That is what we've been going through forever. I have 2 sons and I have a husband. Every time they leave this house, I fear for their life.
Mm.
It is.
Girl,
Okay.
I'm right there with you.
I know.
I'm right there with you, baby. Our Black men in America have been targets since they came to these lands on boats. And for those that were already here, known as Moors, they have been targeted for some reason. Now, this is something that I would say on Black radio, so I'm going to say it on your show, Omar, okay? The Black man is a target because every other nationality is pretty much envious and jealous of the Black man. Who can rise higher than the next thing closest to God? The Black man is the closest thing to God on earth that we'll ever come to. Now, yes, some are very confused. Some of them are very confused, okay? And we're going to work on them. But good brothers such as yourself, and I'm sure Antoinette's husband and her sons, and these kind of men, they are the envy of the world. They are the envy of the world. And we as women, Antoinette, we have to protect them. We have to fight for them. We do. I believe that we do. And that's also for Maria, for our golden men. Black, brown, and golden men are targets. And we got to fight for them. I love them. I love our Black, brown, and golden men, even the ones that are slightly confused.
And I have to agree again, but Omar, to answer your question, I was at the march in Middletown, Little Middletown. Okay, I spent half my life in New York. I grew up in the projects in New York, and then I moved to Dover during the 70s when it was very racist, very redneck. Down in Dover, I went to Caesar Rodney High School, so we know about Caesar Rodney. So I was there, but to walk, and as I was walking, I was interviewing some young people, Black people, white people. I wanted to know how they were feeling.
Yeah.
You know, what was their purpose? Were you just there for the slogan, Black Lives Matter?
Right.
Were you just there because you saw, you know, George Floyd murdered? Now here we are this week, we see Jacob Blake. And now every time I see Blake, I'm like, oh my God, Blake,
Right.
that's Blake, that's family. But even if he wasn't fam, he's still fam. We're fam. Can you imagine on his son, which was his son's 8th birthday, he saw his father shot 7 times. How is that young man going to respect what is supposed to be authority?
Right.
When he saw his father shot 7 times, getting back into his vehicle, they had handcuffed this young man who is now paralyzed. And now you go to social media and they want to talk about his past. That has nothing to do with what happened last week.
No.
So being at that march, I could see the younger generation picking up the mantle. And like you said, Rochelle, the grown-ups left, the old folks left. We ain't got time. We ain't going to jail.
I did.
But we still have those young John Lewises. We still have those young Martin Luther King. We still have those young Nelson Mandelas. And that one gentleman, Mr. Frank Nitti, if you get a chance, listen to the conversation, the interview he had, I believe it was on MSNBC. Listen to him. And you look at this brother with the baseball cap and the dreads, the most articulate, the most influential leader who they walked from Milwaukee to DC. And he tells you about what he went through each town, the racism from the cops and the, you know, some of them were good cops, the people, the same thing. But you know what? That's, like you said, Rochelle, that's what people fear. They fear us. And when you fear something, it's either fight or flight. And right now, it's a fight.
Maria, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so summer of 2019 for Puerto Rico was a very rebellious summer. We were protesting all the way until we were able to get a governor out of the seat. So that was definitely a history-making event. But it also caught attention internationally because of the way that we were consistent, persistent, and we were sort of innovating the ways that we were marching and protesting. We had people that did yoga. We had people that rode horses, you know, so everyone that that had an interest group of something specifically decided to use the things that they liked and that they are dear to them to protest. I spent every night there into, of course, the governor announced that he was going to resign. And Highland Bunkers podcast here in Delaware, while I was in Puerto Rico, they were, I would call in to sort of report what was happening and being able to talk to the youth. But it is very important that when we organize, so even if it's organic, this type of protests are also somewhat organized. And organizers have to be we have to be mindful that when we call for people to express their anger and things that they've been bothered with for generations to come, that we don't just like, okay, here we are, we're protesting and then everybody go home. We have to find ways to be able to allow specifically also our youth to express their anger, to let it all out, to then be able to just out. Now I can focus on what it is that I want to see change and how are we going to work towards that change. I believe that just we come from, I'm Afro-descendant also, right? So I am very in tune with the fact that I don't think anyone else would have been as strong as we are. No one else would have been able to survive having to be slaves, being beaten, being killed, being denied every possible right, just basic human rights that sometimes we take for granted today. So continue to have to fight all of that in all of the time that humanity has lived to today's history. I cannot really think of any other ways to be able to do it the way we have been able to continue to move forward. We do have a group of very powerful people that do see that and do know that, and it is very important for them to keep control of that. And then they teach fear, and then they try to put into the masses of what it is that could look like if we're too progressive, or if we give actual real equality, and if we actually do let everyone be an equal human being. So with that tactic of fears, it's how do we really address that, and when do we start? And I think those are the pressures that we also have to put into our elected officials and everyone out there who has a voice. And I think this is also why I'm so passionate about politics, because when anyone that has an audience, then this is the opportunity to talk about it. And it is the opportunity to teach people as to, yeah, we have to evolve, and we have to teach our kids our real history from a very young age. Like, right. Why do we have to go to college to actually take an elective to learn more about Black history? Like, that's ridiculous. By the time I am in college, I was already racist. I already
right.
I didn't like anyone else that looked like. No, we need to go from a very young age and be able to. We are all part of society. We have to learn how to live with one another. So we have to learn about each other's culture, but specifically more so from the lives that continuously get oppressed, continue to do so, and whose lives are actually stake because we are getting killed. It's not that they might kill us. No. That they continue to kill us, and they continue to get away with it. You know, they're not hanging us right now, but they're shooting at us. And my 15-year-old son doesn't go out like that because, no, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear that you got shot. And so it's very hard to be able to freely live the way we would like to live and fully be who we want to become. But we have the power to do so, and I know we will because we have overcome so much, and we will overcome this too.
All right, so we're running short on time, so I want to give everybody the opportunity to let the audience know when should not your next podcast, your next social media, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, so we can support one another. So let's start off with Fred. Very quickly.
All right, well, my show comes on every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. You can go to Studio 22 Live TV, STUDE for Delaware, number two Live TV. You can go to that Facebook page. You can catch that. You can also catch on my YouTube channel, Studio 22 Media Group, for my podcast.
Rochelle, sorry.
Yes, thank you. So every Sunday at 3:00 p.m., I'm doing Make Some Intelligent Noise, Criminal Justice and Prison Reform. And every Wednesday from 7 until 9, I am doing the Political Power Hour at WHGE. And of course, I go Facebook Live with that. And if we have a chance, come back. I want to say something to Maria.
Okay, Maria, you got anything coming up?
So I've been very busy with a new project that we have taken in Puerto Rico that I take a part of. So I'm very proud to say that I am just one small seed and founding member of a new political party. It's a new political movement that actually became a new political party. So it's election year, which means that we're very much busy doing that. But people can follow me on Instagram, Maria Beauchamp. That's actually where I am the most active because it's just the easiest for me right now. So I usually do stories, and that's when I tend to share my thoughts on important issues and sort of dig in a little bit more on what's happening there and also in Delaware. But randomly, you still see my Facebook Lives with my thoughts and heart pour out about what's happening both in Delaware and in Puerto Rico.
Okay, Antoinette?
You know, there's a lot of places where I am. So let me tell you, just go to the Linktree ID, Del Blogger, or use the hashtag Delaware Blogger, and you'll find me all on my social media platforms, podcast, YouTube channel. I'm on YouTube every day giving podcasting pointers. And now I'm part of the Elite Conversations Knowledge Academy, where we teach podcasting pointers every Tuesdays and Thursdays. And of course, I do my own coaching individually as the CEO of A. Blake Enterprises. So Linktree ID, Del Blogger.
And tomorrow I'll be doing another Zoom Facebook Live, the world of acting and directing. So I'm going to have some actors and directors on. And Fred, also I'm going to be starting a series called A Conversation with Men of Color, where men of color can come and dialogue and talk about all kinds of great issues.
Count me in.
So I'll let you know. So Rochelle, about 1 minute, you got a message from Maria.
Okay, I just want to say first to you, Omar, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed everyone on your guest panel. Please reach out to me. I want their information to reach them directly. And to Maria, I would say, Maria, you say they're not hanging us, they're shooting us. Baby girl, they hang us every time they put our people in jail, in massive incarceration.
Right.
That is today's lynchings.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. I appreciate you as well.
You're over there. You're over here.
Okay, but that was funny. We got to do this again. Okay,
Yes,
so I'd like to thank everybody. And thank the audience for watching. Okay, everybody, take care, and feel free to share on your Facebook page.
And
Absolutely,
I'll send you
we'll
a
do that.
picture of the group shot too.
Maria, Antoinette, Rochelle, Omar, see you guys later. Y'all just
Bye.
follow
Okay,
me on
bye-bye.
Fred Fitzgerald's on my page.
Okay. God bless everybody. Thank you.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
All right.